Welcome back, WNST. Ooh, man, you can exhale a little bit here when there's no football when your team is involved over the weekend. And certainly, the Terps are keeping me busy a couple nights a week, as are the Washington Capitals between now and, let's say, opening day, where the Capitals have been better than advertised. Ed Frankovic now joins us after yet. And I wrote this in the headline out on our Facebook Live and our YouTube WNST TV channel, another Capitals victory. We say that a lot around here during the regular season, don't we, Ed?
We do a lot of winning, to steal Joe Flacco's line. And at home, it's 9 in a row. And how's that great Aerosmith song go? The train kept it rolling
all night long. Absolutely, it did.
And the Caps, not their best performance, and they haven't been dominant in a while, and that's something we can get into and talk about. But another game goes to overtime, and then they find another way to win a game, and they're getting great goaltending as they've done all season. And Alex Ovechkin's playing the best hockey he's played in several years, and they're getting guys from nowhere stepping up. And on Sunday, it was Brett Connolly.
Ed, you said that, for them, that they're not playing their best hockey. That sort of is why you get better hockey out of them in the third period, I think, right? Like, they were almost sleepy the last couple of regular seasons when they would put a 4-1 lock on you and would stop trying to score because they could play defense. It just made for short nights and frustration on the other side. This whole part where they have to scrap in the third period every night and into overtime, it sort of has made them play a little cagier, and I think it's brought the bottom end of the roster up to become a little bit more fit, as we found at the top of the roster with Ovechkin, who has to be in better shape in the third period of these kind of games. I mean, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy that they sort of have to work a little harder because they aren't as talented, right?
Yeah, they're working 4 rookies into the lineup, as we've talked about, and especially on the back end with Christian Hughes and Madison Bowie. These guys are rookies, and they're gonna make mistakes. I mean, Madison Bowie has been very yo-yo-ish in the lineup. I mean, he's made some great plays. He made a great play on the goal that the Capitals took the 3-2 lead on with a nice poke check at the blue line, and his mobility and his size and his reach helped him do that. But then, he'll throw a puck right up the middle of the ice, and a rookie mistake that he needs to stop making, as I blogged out at WNST.net. But then again, you see a veteran like Matt Niskanen do the same thing. So a lot of the problems are coming in the second period, Ness, and I blogged about this after the win over St. Louis on Sunday. And I don't know what happens from period 1 to period 2, but the second periods have been the big problem areas for the Capitals. On Sunday, they came out and they played a really, really nice first period against the Blues, who had played the day before in Philly. Were coming in on their third game in 4 nights, and the Capitals really jumped on them in the first period. And I had the Capitals ahead in quality shots, 8-3. And the Blues really didn't get hardly anything. I mean, they didn't get any good looks. If it wasn't for Carter Hutton for the Blues in net, the Caps might have had a 2 or 3-0 lead. But I don't know what the heck happens from period 2 to period 3, whether they start listening to Air Supply or you name your bad 70s band, buddy, because we've heard all that music. And they just came out dead. And the first 8 minutes of the second period were all Blues. I mean, they had 8 quality chances before the Capitals even had any. It was turnover city, and that's been a pattern. And that's forcing them, like you said, to have to play these strong thirds, because they went into the third period down a goal, and Raleigh took the lead, kind of a fluky bounce to tie the game up. But they're not getting the consistent play for 60 minutes. And you're not going to dominate a team. You're not going to dominate any team in this league for 60 minutes. But you could be alone with your zone exits, and that's where the problems are right now.
Ed Frankovic joining us here to talk all things Washington Capitals and for Ovechkin. And I know, we only get together once or twice a week here. And I remember years ago it was all we had to talk about, right? And really the last couple of years, I don't want to say a complimentary player, but boy, as the talent has dissipated, as these young guys have come in, he sort of looks like that veteran guy who wants to win a championship, which is a lot better than what we could say for Yager around here or various other sort of hanger-ons. He is certainly not a hanger-on at this point. He's a guy who understands his legacy as a hockey player. He's got all the money in the world, is going to be tied to winning a Stanley Cup.
There's no doubt about it, Ness. He is singularly focused. He doesn't care if he's the guy scoring or he's the guy getting the assists, and he has 18 assists. So he's got 45 points in 42 42 games. He's leading the team in scoring. That's the first time in a couple of years he's done that. Because usually Kuznetsov or Backstrom are getting all those apples and taking a lead, and nobody's not getting a lot of assists. Well, he's passing the puck well. He's shooting the puck. He's leading. I mean, he's leading by example. He's in much better shape. He's faster on the ice. That's allowing him to do things he hasn't been able to do for the last 3 or 4 years. Certainly, whatever he did in the offseason has made a difference. And he definitely wants to win. I know Braden Holtby wants to win very bad. The whole team wants to win. Trotz wants to get this monkey off his back. And it's a process. I mean, I talked about earlier on that they haven't really dominated anybody in a while. You're not seeing, you talk about last year, with 4-1 wins or 5-1 wins. They just blow a team out. They haven't done that in a while. I think they've got an opportunity to maybe do that on Tuesday night against a Vancouver team who really stuck it to them on the West Coast back in October when, the pieces of the puzzle weren't coming together. The Capitals were kind of reeling. Nicholas Backstrom didn't play. They were struggling on the back end. Niskanen was out. And Vancouver really blew them out there on the West Coast.
Well, that trip always stinks for the Caps, right? Like, literally, they've never done that trip particularly well, right?
It's not a good one. I mean, the only good ones were really when they had that dominant teams the last 2 years when I think they did sweep it one time. You and I talked about that. But for the most part, that trip is not a good one. And Vancouver's coming in here. They lost the game to Montreal over the weekend. The Capitals have a chance to really jump on a team that I don't think is very good. And I would like to see the Capitals have one of those dominant wins and really get a lead and go in the third period and really lock it down and just put a team away. And that's something that in order to do that, they got to figure out these second period problems. And the biggest problem I think with the second period is, again, the giveaways, and you switch ends in that second period, and the defensemen have a much longer change. So if you're not clean coming out of your zone in that second period, your defenseman can't get to the bench, and they get stuck on the ice, and they get tired, and the other team gets chance after chance after chance, and that's what's happened. It becomes a vicious cycle. And I know the coaches are aware of it. They're trying to work it out, but the defense has just got to make better plays. The forwards have got to be in better positions. They got to be harder on the wall to get the pucks out. And if they can do that, if they can put a second period together, then maybe we can see one of these dominant wins. But there's been a lot of overtime lately.
A lot of East going on as well, and they're going to see Carolina twice here this weekend on Thursday and Friday in a home-and-home back and forth to Raleigh. And then on top of that, you got Trotz coaching the All-Star team, and then they have to get on the road to Jersey next week. But there is this down period coming after these next 3 games where most of the league gets a couple days off, and you hope to get some fresh legs. Some guys got to go play in competitions and do all that, but we do get a little bit of an exhale during a period of time where, quite frankly, Ed, I know these guys play on frozen ice, but, it's been below 30 degrees around here for a week and a half. Everybody's sort of frozen out and thawed out. Taking a little time down, it's probably pretty good for these guys, right?
Yeah, I think so, Ness. I think the 4 days off, when the Capitals historically struggle coming out after 4 days off. They play their best hockey, if you look over the last few years, when they're playing every other night. But they have a lot of breaks in January. They did a lot of scrimmaging last week. Trotz is trying to change some things up just to get them, if you will, ready for a lot of downtime in January with the All-Star game and their bye week and just a real quirky schedule. But it did a lot of good for guys like TJ Oshie. I really thought Oshie really had his best game since he was concussed on December 4th. He had 2 assists, and he won the face-off that led to Ovechkin's game-tying goal. So he was factored in on 3 of the 4 goals. Brooks Orpik really played. He had been struggling on the back end. He looked tired. Well, Brooks was very good, if not, might have been one of their best defensemen on Sunday. Orpik had a really good game. So some of these older guys really needed that little break and rejuvenated and really looked solid. So I'm optimistic about the way this month's going to go. I think Oshie's coming back into form. Orpik certainly could use those breaks, and they need him on the back end with the mistakes that Bowie and Jews still make back there. They're still going to have to be a role for Brooks Orpik here until they can get those guys up to speed, and it'll be interesting to see what happens at the trade deadline if Brian McClellan goes out and gets a defenseman. I think he will. So it's going to be a lot of breaks, a lot of stops and starts, and the Capitals historically have not played well during those periods. So Coach Trotz is trying to change things up to try and keep this momentum going because they've been quite on quite a roll here. They were 11-10-1, and now we're 26-13-3. That's some incredible hockey over the last couple months.
He is Ed Frankovic out on Twitter, and of course Ed at WNST.net, our Caps historian, insider, Ravens season ticket holder, and a disgruntled NFL fan as well. You know, we talked so much about coaching this time of year, right, where this is when the bizarre happens on the NFL side, and, you know, who's Harbaugh going to bring in, and is Chuck Pagano going to work, all that stuff that's going on right now on the football side. You know, this is the middle of the season where, you know, Barry Trotz has been brought in here to do this job. It hasn't been done yet. He's certainly turned the tide around. We've talked about how Ovechkin is there, how the team is now 26-13, sort of coasting along. He's going to coach the All-Star. You know, he's fifth highest win total in the league, and I mean all these statistics and stuff. The only thing he cares about, much like Ovechkin and these guys attached at the hip, unlike Flacco and Harbaugh and Suggs, who've all won a championship, right? It's different for Trotz and Ovechkin and Backstrom and Holtby and the guys who have been orphaned in June, right? They're watching the Stanley Cup Finals. They're not in it, and quite frankly, haven't even gone deep. I mean, it had to really disturb Trotz to watch Nashville sort of elope with the new coach and all that stuff after he built that thing for 20 years down there. He wants a piece of the action here, but passing judgment on Trotz right now, boy, he sort of leveled the ship here a little bit, right? I mean, I know they were reeling out on the West Coast, as you talked about, and trying to find life after losing so much talent, quite frankly, and trying to find one more reason to put the band back together and get everybody motivated all over again. Well, here we are. It's January, and they're pretty good, and they're going to be in the playoffs, and it's going to matter seeding, day of the week, goaltender having a hamstring injury, whatever, but they're going to be in a position to go chase a cup here again, and Trotz has to, and I know he's my friend, your friend, we've known him forever, but, you know, this is a time to praise him, I think, to some degree, right?
Oh, definitely, Ness. I mean, he talked about that this week with the downtime. He got asked about that, and this thing of last season, the last two seasons were very, very rough. So he has to adjust what he had to do, and he said he had to back off the team for the first 22 games, and he did. And then he said he had to put the hammer down on him, and when he did that and got everybody dialed in, that's when they took off. So I really like what he's done. You can't question Barry Trotz's pedigree when it comes to developing players, especially on defense. I mean, we talked about this last week, the guys he developed in Nashville, Matthias Ekholm, Ryan Ellis, Shea Weber. You know, all these good defensemen came up through the Nashville organization, and he learned that in the Capitals organization, working with the likes of Rod Langway, Scott Stevens, on and on and on. And Barry's doing that. Look what he's done with the Dmitry Orlov, Nate Schmidt, and now Madison Bowie, and even Christian Jews are coming into the fold. And you got to give him some credit for what he did with Carl Osner and John Carlson when he first came in. The Capitals have been really good defensively since Coach Trotz came in. He changed the culture. He changed the identity of the team, and they have that now. It's a culture of working hard and dedication. And nobody expected them to be at the top of the division right now. They were not picked here. Now with that comes added pressure and more pressure on Trotz to be able to figure out a way to get through this Metro and get into the third round in the playoffs. But they're not worrying about making the playoffs like they are up in Pittsburgh right now. Pittsburgh's got a lot of problems. They're trying to make the playoffs. And the Capitals, they're pretty much going to be in, although that division's still close. You can't have some injuries and fall off. So there's going to come pressure. It's not going to be like the pressure of last year, but until you win that championship, Trotz, Ovechkin, Holtby, they're all going to have the Backstrom. They're all going to have the pressure on them. So it's going to be these last couple months are going to be about tuning the game, making sure they get, I'd like to have home ice again because they're good at home, and the matchups are so important. So a lot of praise to Trotz and the staff of what they've done so far. All
right, man. Well, anything you want to say about watching football on TV over the weekend? I want to give you a chance to, vent your NFL rage here because I know you have some of it.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I was so busy with kid stuff, I didn't get to see much of it. My son, both my sons had hockey, my daughter had skating, but
that's nice when you can go to hockey and go inside, and it's actually warmer in an ice rink than it is outside, right?
For the most part, but I'll tell you what, on Saturday morning at 11, the Logston rink out at Laurel was just freezing. I felt like I was standing outside. But
I'm cold thinking about it. I'm cold looking at your Facebook pictures, Eddie.
It's brutal, and I'll tell you what, though, NFL, my biggest gripe, is really with the Ravens right now. I mean, I listened to what John said last week, and I thought Luke did some just amazing pieces out there, and your radio shows with him, and your discussions with others. I feel like, they're kind of blowing off what happened. And that's where I am. I don't know how others feel, but I feel like they're just kind of blowing off what happened, the season, this one play away. And you look at what they did this year, they beat a lot of backup quarterbacks, right? They really never really excelled. And if I'm Joe Flacco, I put myself in Joe's shoes. I can't be happy. I can't be happy with the offense we're running, right? I've got this big arm. I could go deep. I've got a strong arm, and the offense doesn't feel like it's built around him. I don't feel like they built the pieces around him since the Super Bowl. I feel like what Luke wrote is they've just kind of said, okay, we'll try and fix the defense and let Joe do what he can to just get us by. And that just doesn't work in this league right now. With all the flags and the defensive penalties, you've got to be offensive. And I didn't hear that from John, and I was very disappointed in that. And I'm interested to hear what Steve and Ozzie say whenever they talk to the media.
Well, yeah, we'll be chasing and talking and opining and all that. I know one thing, dude, and this is the hardest part of all of this, and, also for the 4 teams that lost over the weekend, having to go back and play golf here. You can't do anything for 9 months. You could change the perception business or whatever, but you can't win a game again until after Labor Day. And I think that's the hardest part of the league is, going into the offseason, only one team's going to feel good. There are 8 places right now where they're feeling pretty good. Up in Philadelphia, they want to have a parade up there. Minnesota thinks they got a home Super Bowl. Pittsburgh and New England seem destined to play next week and all that. But, for everybody else, we sit around here and say, well, we picked 16th and we got to wait 3.5 months for that, right?
Yeah, it's not fun, and I did catch a little bit of the Saints game. I always like watching Drew Brees play. Again, it's a quarterback league, as Coach Billick said.
As I tweeted, he's an artist.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm a Drew Brees guy, and that guy's good. I think that the NFC's fun because it's just so wide open. I would have loved to see Philly stuff, Carson Wentz. Although I'm not a big fan of that city. But the Eagles, I have no disdain for the Eagles like I do for the Flyers.
Well, I can't hate on the Eagles because Jimmy Schwartz is there, Joe Douglas is there, Andy Weidl's there, Torrey Smith is there, Corey Graham is there. I know all these people associated with the Eagles. I've got an affinity for the Minnesota Vikings. I have some friends in that organization, and I know Mike Zimmer a little bit and his family as well. So I sort of, I can pull for them a little bit. I want to pull for the Saints, and I sort of like the whole Saints thing and Drew Brees, but the coach is such a prick, right? Like, I don't like Sean Payton. I don't want to root for him. So, I'm trying to find my spots here. I don't want to see the Steelers win, but if it's down to them and the Patriots, I don't want to see the Patriots win anything, and obviously they have their own turmoil, as was reported last week and denied by Mr. Kraft. But this has been a pretty good tournament so far. I found the games to be compelling over the weekend for the most part, and I think the Atlanta Falcons are a great story right now.
Yeah, the Falcons are definitely a team that, with Matt Ryan and in the group of wide receivers, there's a team built on offense, right? There's a team that goes and tries to step on your throat. So they're fun to watch. So, that NFC's wide open. I agree with you. It's going to be Pittsburgh and New England, and Pittsburgh has not, they have not exercised the ghosts of beating the Patriots in the playoffs. So, there's a ton of pressure on them to do that. They got to go against the greatest of all time and Brady up there in quarterback. So I see New England coming out on top, but Pittsburgh has the team to do it. If Antonio Brown's healthy, that could be interesting. I don't give the Jaguars or the Titans, snowball's chance of where against either one of these teams. But the NFC's fun, and like you said, I normally would not root for a Philadelphia team, but I kind of like this team. And with you mentioning all those Ravens and Maryland connections there, I would love to see Philly come through, and it's just a shame that Wentz went down because I really think they could be the team to go all the way had they had him. But, this other kid, Foles, we'll see what he's got.
Philly has a home dog. I'm checking the lines out on it. It's unbelievable. Atlanta's a 2.5-point favorite in Philly. New England, 13.5. on Tennessee. Pittsburgh 7.5. I mean, I'd be inclined to take Pittsburgh, although I respect Jacksonville's defense. Minnesota 3.5-point favorite at home against New Orleans. Man, I wouldn't touch that. Dude, I would not bet against Drew Brees. I just would not do it, you know.
No, and I know as much as we don't like that coach down there in New Orleans, he's a heck of a coach. You know, he's a tactician and another guy. Offense. You know, it's an offensive league, and that's where this team in this town needs to get to.
Well, we'll have good conversation here all week about these 4 football games. Eddie, get back on the frozen ice there. We'll see you on Tuesday night doing the Vancouver Canucks thing, and again this weekend as the home, the Carolina Hurricanes, before the Caps go off doing the All-Star Game thing this weekend. You can find Ed at Ed Frankovic out on Twitter, as well as Ed at WNST.net. You can find me anywhere the internet goes. So that's the buyatoyota.com audio vault for anything you hear here. You can listen live from anywhere in the world by downloading the TuneIn radio app. And, of course, our morning newspaper ships directly to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month, never any commitment. 2018, we're going to get you in the best shape of your life at a Planet Fitness near you. And, hey, for the next couple of weeks, Purple Rain 2, I am releasing it online at WNST.net. 1 chapter a day, every day, beginning this weekend, leading up to the 5 years. Gosh, it's been 5 years since New Orleans. The anniversary is Super Bowl 47. And, of course, Ray Lewis will be going into the Hall of Fame later on in the month. And we have our Ray Lewis Hall of Fame Canton bus now available as well. You can email me, nasty at WNST.net, for details regarding that. Last but never least, any breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday, driving you home, getting you ready for all things divisional round playoffs and said point spreads in front of you and all that. I'll be joining Dennis on Thursday for the SSV on WNST. What else do we got here? Oh, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.